This is how it works, Woody. So what happens is, see how it prints layer by layer? It slowly melts plastic that comes down this tool. It pulls from this reel, and it just pushes out just enough to put out a little tiny line. And so it consistently does that. And you can hear it, every little servo and motor moving. And what it does is, it starts from the bottom, which is the Z-axis, let's just say, the very bottom. And what you're going to learn in your graphing school is X and Y is up and down, X is left and right. Well, eventually when you start learning higher math, it takes the Y-axis and it flips it 90 degrees. And so this, I'm going to put this right up here. This is the top of your Y-axis. This is the top of your X-axis. So Z is actually height, goes up, or depth. So when the Z-axis goes down, the table is actually going down, the printer is actually printing up. Does that make sense? So if I'm printing on the XY axis, which is just up, down, left, or right, it just starts printing a layer. So it'll print X and Y, and it'll stay there and print everything in the XY axis, and then drop the table down 1 millimeter, or whatever unit of measure you want to use, depending on your print, whatever the extruder wants to print out. So it prints out a thickness of a little less than 1 millimeter. So this maybe moves 1 millimeter down. But you see what it does, right? All it's doing is X and Y every single time till this table drops down 1 millimeter on the Z-axis and then prints the XY picture. So if we slice this whole print up, which you can kind of see in the ridges there, is every single slice of what we did, you get an XY picture, which you would do on a graph. So if we did a line just from the X-axis or Y-axis, you get one line on this little blue table here. But what happens is you put a bunch of those lines together and it starts to make one of these things. You make a circle, you get a whole bunch of these things on top of each other, so you get a bunch of circles. That's how this thing works. And so you build a 3D model, and this thing can actually take it in the software and slice it, and basically put it in XY parameters, so that every time it goes and moves this tray on a Z-axis, it takes another picture and makes that print. So this thing is only just doing what it's told to do on the XY axis. This guy goes up and down on the Z-axis, up and down. And it just does that over and over again, slice by slice, picture by picture. After this is done, it's going to have a little bit of whiskers and stuff like that, but I can explain that later when we can do this together. But it's actually a really cool process, really simple. A couple motors. There's one of the motors. You see that belt? That belt moves another belt that moves the servo, which is right there, and then that servo moves this belt, which moves the head. And you see this last one here, see that belt? That's the guy that pulls it back. So that's left and right, so that would be your X-axis belt, which is, sorry, not this one here. This is your Y-axis belt. That's your X-axis belt. Oh, you can't see it, sorry. There. X-axis belt, because left and right is X, back up and up into the back is Y. Remember, Z is the table. Okay? But anyway, that is going to be your drought or earthquake. It doesn't matter what you want to do with it. I actually found it under the drought, but you can actually make it earthquake if you want. there it is in process before I clean it up. Normally what I do is after I print it, I buff out those little tiny rough spots and get rid of all the nits and stuff like that, which happens when you're burning plastic because it's never a perfect thing, but just so you know, it'll be fun. Can't wait to do this together with you, buddy.